Greetings and salutations, I am your humble Adobe instructor, AJ Wood, and you're watching episode number 47 of I Create Content. Hey everyone, appreciate you tuning in for today's show. If you caught our last episode, we were actually talking about the improved dodge and burn tools inside of Photoshop CS5. Today I've got some quick tips to get you up and running with perspective drawing inside of Illustrator CS5. Let's go ahead and jump on in. You can see on the screen in front of you, I've got a blank artboard, and what I'm going to do is start by activating the perspective grid. The keyboard shortcut is simply Command-Shift-I on a Mac or Control-Shift-I on a PC. I want you to see with the grid showing on the screen, I can immediately begin drawing things in perspective. I don't need any other tools. I don't need any other special settings. I can immediately go and draw items right in perspective. To better understand that though, it helps if you understand the tools and the setup for perspective grid. So I'm going to undo the artwork, and the first thing we need to look at is the active plane widget. So let me go ahead and undo this. Draw your attention to the top left corner of the screen. I have the active plane widget. Now this shows me in blue, orange, and green which plane is active. Notice the widget corresponds to the actual grid that's on the artboard. So I can use my number keys or my mouse to cycle through the widget. So number 1 for the left side, number 2 for the horizontal plane, number 3 for the right side. If I press the number 4 on the keyboard, none of the planes will actually be active. Right? If I want to edit this perspective grid, on the toolbar we have the perspective grid tool. Now I can actually go about editing the properties of the grid. I have the ability to change the horizon line. I can stay along this horizon control and edit the individual vanishing points for the left and the right side. I could also move the entire grid if I'm trying to map it to existing artwork I have on the screen. So once you've actually gone and changed the way the perspective grid looks, then you're ready to start putting your artwork on. Let's take a look at how the shape tools actually interact with the perspective grid. If I just grab my regular rectangle tool, I can activate the left side plane, which is now showing up in blue, and if I simply drag out a rectangle, you can see it snaps to the left side plane and it's in perspective. If I want to change the shape of that object, I need the perspective selection tool. When I grab this tool, now I can change the shape of the rectangle. Notice when I move the rectangle, it actually moves in perspective. If I wanted to, just like the regular selection tool, I can make a duplicate. I hold the Alt key on a PC, the Option key on a Mac, and I can drag out a duplicate of that rectangle. If I want to constrain the movement, I just hold Alt Shift on a PC or Option Shift on a Mac, and now I've got a duplicate of that. If I wanted to select both at the same time, notice I can marquee select just like I would with the regular selection tool, and now I can once again Alt Shift or Option Shift, make yet another duplicate. But what happens if I already have artwork on the artboard? What if I have drawn my artwork ahead of time and now I just want to snap it to the perspective grid? Let's take a look at that. If I already had artwork on the screen, notice here I've got a blue circle, I've got this red rectangle, and when I move them, they don't snap the perspective at all. The way that I get them to snap to perspective is select the artwork, grab the perspective selection tool, and then choose the plane I want active. So I'm going to choose the right facing plane, which is orange, and notice I can just drag this rectangle and it immediately snaps to the right side. I can resize it, I can move it, and once again, if I wanted to, I could duplicate it by holding the Alt or Option key, drag out a duplicate. Notice all the duplicates, they're dragged out, they stay in perspective in the view. If I wanted to take the blue circle and actually map it to the horizontal plane, once again, I could use the perspective tool, drag it, and just have to activate the horizontal plane, and here is the circle now. I can resize it, and I can actually map it here along the horizontal plane. I can move it, right? And if I want to move it perpendicular, right, maybe I don't want it to be on the floor, as it were, on the bottom of the horizontal plane, I can actually move this up and down by holding the number 5 key. So if I want to move artwork perpendicular to the perspective plane, I can actually hold the number 5 key. So notice near, I now have the circle, it's moved. Right? I can move it up some more. Here it is up high. And if I want to move it back down to the ground level, I'm just holding the number 5 key as I drag. So those are some quick tips to get you up and running with perspective drawing inside of Illustrator CS5. If this video helped you out, give it a thumbs up. As always, I appreciate it when you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Remember, I create the videos in response to your questions. So leave me comments on Facebook, on Twitter, on Google+, my blog, ajwood.com, or here on the YouTube channel. So, you guys have an excellent afternoon, and I'll see you next time.